I think dimensional analysis has haunted kids for centuries, but it's really, really simple. Let's look at a few problems. Okay, let's say that I have 1 quart of milk, and all I want to know is how many milliliters are in that cup, or that quart. Okay, I have 1 quart of milk, and I want to know how many milliliters are in that quart of milk. The answer is fairly simple. Whatever you're given in the problem, like the 1 quart, you're going to pull out and put it below. I pulled out my 1 quart. Now you're going to pull out what you want to get to. My goal is to get to milliliters, so I'm going to write milliliters right there. Now where I have this 1 quart, I'm going to write it right there, and this is what my kids like to call the ugly ladder. Okay, I'm going to draw a line. This line tells me that I need to multiply by everything on the top and divide by everything on the bottom. Now, I look at what is in my first square. It says 1 quart. I'm going to forget about the 1 for right now, since I'm trying to get to milliliters, and I'm just going to worry about my units, which is quarts. So, whatever my unit is, I can put down here. When you put 1 thing on the top and 1 thing on the bottom, it's kind of like saying 5 divided by 5, or x divided by x. No matter what you divide, if you divide it by itself, the answer is always 1. So when we do that problem, it's like we're saying x divided by x. Simple as that. Okay, so I can cross off those units. I've now gotten rid of quarts. Now, in order to complete this problem, you would also need to know the conversion that 1.057 quarts are in 1 liter. Okay? 1.057 quarts is equal to 1 liter. So, since we don't know how to get from quarts to milliliters, which is our goal, I would plug in what I do know. I know that 1 liter is equal to 1.057 quarts. Now, I've gotten rid of my quarts unit, but I still have liters. I don't want my answer in liters, I want my answer in milliliters. So, I'm going to put liters on the bottom, because that's my unit right there. Again, I forgot about the number that was right here. So I just took this L and I put it down there. Now I'm trying to get from liters to milliliters, and I have to think to myself, do I know how to do that? Why, yes, I do. Because of my metric conversions, I know that 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters. Okay? If I didn't know how to do that problem, I could simply just think about metric conversions. Okay? Now I'm going to take everything on the top and multiply 1 times 1 times 1,000 milliliters. The reason I did not write liters was because this L and this L cancel out. Okay? That's everything on the top. Now I just have to look at everything on the bottom. 1.057 times 1. Okay? You could really get rid of these ones. And then you'll get your answer. That is 946 milliliters is equal to 1 quart. Now let's say I give you a little bit more complicated problem. Let's say I wanted to know this. I want to know how many wanted to know this. I drove 45 kilometers in 1 hour on my way to work this morning. Okay, I wrote it like this because there are 45 kilometers in 1 hour. Okay? Now, I want to know how many miles per second. I wrote it like that. Okay, let's try a different problem. Let's say that I have 45 kilometers per hour, and that's how fast I was driving on my way to work this morning. I want to know how many meters per second I was going. So in this case, I have kilometers on top, meters on top of my answer. I have hours on bottom and seconds on the bottom in my answer. So I'm converting two things at once. That's my goal. So just like before, I'm going to rewrite what I started with in my ladder. When I do my ladder this time, I'm going to put 45 kilometers on the top and 1 hour on the bottom. At this point, you could really start with whatever you wanted to start with. But I'm going to start with kilometers because it's on top. I'm going to forget about my numbers and I'm going to forget about what's on the bottom for just a second. I'm going to take this kilometers and I'm going to stick it on the bottom. Okay? I'm trying to get to meters and I have to think to myself, do I know how to get from kilometers to meters? Yes, I do. All I have to think about is my metric conversions. There is 1 kilometer in 1,000 meters. All you have to do to figure that out is look at your conversions table. You take 1 kilometer is equal to how many meters? Okay. Kilometers has an exponent on it of 3. You are going to a base unit, and that gives you 3. That means in order to get kilometers, you have to move 3 decimal places to the right. This number is positive, so you're moving to the right. Okay. Now that I know that my conversion is 1,000, I'm going to do this. I'm going to cross off my kilometers. I've gotten rid of those. All I have left is meters. Do I need to go anywhere else from there? No. Meters is what I want the units for my answer in. So I'm good as far as distance goes. But I'm still left with this hours. Hours right here is on the bottom. That means in my answer, hours needs to be on the top. So I put hours on the top. Again, I didn't worry about the number that was right here. Now you have to think, do I know how to get from hours to seconds? Some of you might, but some of you might not. So we'll go from hours to minutes. You should know that there is 60 seconds in 1 minute and 60 minutes in 1 hour. I just used the conversions that I already knew. So over here I have hours, it's on bottom, and I have hours on top. Since they're opposite, I can cancel them out. The same goes for minutes. That leaves me with seconds, which is what I want my answer to be in. Pretty simple. Then you just multiply by everything on the top and divide by everything on the bottom. That will give you an answer of 12.5 meters per second. A lot of people get confused when they're doing these problems because they get here and they don't know what conversion to use. So let's go back and revisit this for a second. Okay, now kilometers on the bottom. And I know I have meters on the top. But where do I go from there? Okay, well, since you don't know what you need to start with, just assume that you need to start with 1. You can pick 1 for either one of these. I'm just going to pick 1 for kilometers because that's where we started at. So I know I have 1 kilometer. Then you do your conversion for how many meters. It's as simple as that. Okay, so you are going to pick 1. You don't need to worry about this 45. Just put a 1 right there. Since we've done these problems, I think you can do dimensional analysis. So good luck.